Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to take a closer look at a really powerful sermon from Pastor Jason Cho of the Montgomery Korean Presbyterian Church. This message was delivered on September 14, 2025, and it was titled, "What is on that Tree?" It digs into one of the most confusing stories in the Gospels. So let's jump right in and unpack this mystery together.
So this is the question that's right at the heart of it all. It just seems a little strange, doesn't it? Maybe even a bit unfair. I mean, Jesus is hungry, he sees a tree, hopes for a snack, but finds nothing, and then he curses it. And the Bible itself tells us it wasn't even the right season. So what in the world is going on here? Well, as we heard in the sermon, the answer to that question unlocks a much, much deeper message.
Okay, let's just quickly paint the picture. It's the day after the triumphal entry into Jerusalem. Jesus is hungry. He spots a fig tree off in the distance that looks really promising because it's full of leaves. So he walks over, looking for something to eat, but nothing, just leaves. And that's when Mark, the author of the Gospel, drops that little detail that makes the whole thing so puzzling. It was not the season for figs. Now, it's really tempting to see this as, a moment of Jesus being hangry, angry because he's hungry, but it's not that at all. This is a deliberate symbolic act. You could almost call it a living parable. Jesus is using this tree to teach a huge lesson, and he's setting the stage for something incredibly important.
So how do we figure out what that lesson is? Well, the key, as the sermon pointed out so well, is understanding a special literary technique that the author, Mark, just loves to use. It's often called a sandwich structure.
The idea is actually pretty simple, but it's brilliant. An author starts telling a story. Let's call that story A. But then, right in the middle, they pause it, and they drop in a totally different story, story B. After story B is done, they go back and finish story A. The whole point of doing this is that story B, the filling of the sandwich, is actually the main point. It's the key to understanding everything else.
And check this out. This is a perfect example of it. The top piece of bread is Jesus cursing the fig tree. Then, what happens immediately after? Mark inserts the story of Jesus marching into the Jerusalem temple and flipping tables, driving out the money changers. That's the filling. And the bottom piece of bread, that's the next morning, when they walk by and see the fig tree as totally withered away. The temple story is stuck right in the middle on purpose.
So this structure is our biggest clue. It tells us that this story isn't really about a hungry guy and an unlucky tree. The tree is a symbol. It stands for something else. And what does the filling of our sandwich point to? The temple. Let's dig into that connection.
This is really where it all starts to click. We need to connect the dots between what the tree looked like and what was happening in the temple.
The parallels here are just, wow. On one side, you've got the fig tree. From far away, it looked great. It was full of lush, green leaves. It looked totally alive and healthy. On the other side, you have the Jerusalem temple. It was the center of religious life, always bustling with activity, with impressive ceremonies and rituals. But here's the problem they both shared. The tree had no fruit. And as Jesus was about to show, the temple had no true spiritual fruit. It was all just for show.
Now, the sermon brought up a really fascinating little detail here. Even if it wasn't the season for big, ripe figs, a healthy fig tree that already had leaves should have had these little edible early buds on it. They're called pagia. The leaves were a promise that fruit was on the way. So this tree had the outward promise, the leaves, but it had zero substance to back it up. It was a perfect symbol for the temple, which had all the outward signs of religion but was empty of the real heart of it all.
So the next morning, the disciples see what happened. The tree is completely withered right from the roots up. And Peter is just stunned. He points it out, and his exclamation gives Jesus the perfect opening to explain what this whole thing was really about. It's not about gardening, it's about faith.
Peter points at this dead tree, probably expecting Jesus to talk about his amazing power over nature. But Jesus completely pivots the conversation in a direction nobody saw coming.
That's his first response. Simple, direct. Not, yeah, pretty cool, huh? But have faith in God. He immediately turns the focus away from what he did and onto what they need to believe. As we heard in the sermon, their amazement showed that their faith wasn't quite where it needed to be yet. And this command to have faith wasn't just some nice general advice. It was directly tied to the filling of the sandwich, the cleansing of the temple. Think about it. That religious system was massive, powerful, and corrupt. Trying to change it would have felt impossible, like trying to move a mountain. Jesus is telling them that with faith in God, even that is possible. So when Jesus starts talking about telling a mountain to throw itself into the sea, he's using this incredible metaphor. The mountain is that giant, immovable obstacle of a religious system that looked impressive but produced no real fruit. He's teaching them that prayer that's filled with genuine faith can take on the biggest spiritual challenges you can imagine.
But he doesn't stop there. He connects this mountain-moving faith directly to how we pray, and then he adds one last, crucial condition to the whole thing.
First, he makes this incredible promise. The power in your prayer is directly connected to your belief that God is listening and is going to answer. It's all about having that complete trust, that faith he just called for. Now, this seems like a perfect place to end the lesson, right? Have faith, pray with belief, and watch amazing things happen. But Jesus has a twist ending, a condition that brings the entire lesson full circle.
Forgiveness? All of a sudden, this powerful, mountain-moving prayer isn't just about raw power. It's conditional. It depends on the character, on the state of the heart of the person who's praying.
And as the sermon so beautifully connected for us, this brings us right back to the temple. Because where did people go to stand and pray and make a big show of it? In the temple courts. The whole religious system was filled with people going through the motions, all those impressive leaves, but their hearts were missing the real fruit of mercy and forgiveness. Jesus' point is sharp and clear. You can't ask God to move a mountain for you if you're holding on to a mountain of unforgiveness in your own heart.
So, this brings the whole lesson right into our lives today, not just for the disciples back then. It really makes us stop and think about our own faith. When you boil it all down, the crucial point is this. This story was never about a random curse on a tree. It's a powerful parable. Jesus isn't impressed by how religious we look on the outside, the leaves of church attendance, our rituals, or our public prayers. He's looking for the real stuff, the genuine fruit that grows from a life that's been changed by faith, a life that's expressed in trusting prayer and a heart that is always ready to forgive. And that leaves us with the final challenging question from this sermon. When we really honestly look at our own lives, what do we see? Do we see a lot of impressive leaves, outward things that look good from a distance? Or do we see the genuine fruit that can only grow from a heart of true faith? Ultimately, we all have to decide which one we're spending our lives cultivating.